right, I would like to call to order the May 16th Milford City Council meeting. If you'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. And during the moment of silence, please keep all our first responders' physical and mental health in your prayers. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Jackie, can you please call the roll?
Mayor Evans?
Here.
Vice Mayor Russell?
Here.
Mr. Mitchell?
Here.
Mr. Parrish?
Here.
Gifford?
Here.
Mr. Redmond?
Present.
Mr. Chairman?
Here. That takes us to our first order of business, and we have at the podium. All right, so St. Andrew Church building, I guess, is celebrating 100 years. So it says, whereas in 1914, the current St. Andrew Church property was purchased by Father Albert Burke, and whereas in 1919, the parish purchased a new rectory and enough land to expand into the future, whereas it was June 24th, 1923, under the leadership of Father Edward Krieger, with over 1,000 people present, the cornerstone of the new St. Andrew Catholic Church was laid, and the new church was solemnly dedicated by Archbishop Henry Moeller. And whereas, as the Milford area was growing, the new St. Andrew Catholic School opened in 1948 with an enrollment of 123 students. And whereas, by the grace of God and by the efforts of devoted and faith-driven leaders and members, St. Andrew Church has stood as a beacon in the community for 100 years. And whereas St. Andrew Catholic Church continues to grow, welcoming and engaging with all who come to them, hoping to introduce others to Christ, all are welcome. Now therefore I, Lisa Evans, on behalf of my colleagues on the Milford City Council, and by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Milford, hereby recognize and join in celebration of this historic milestone. Oh yes, you can do a picture too.
Just thank you for this recognition. We really appreciate it. We're going to show this to our parishioners, who are all very proud and a part of this community. And we appreciate the invitation here tonight and this proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we council in the background? No, I think they won.
Oh, they want us in the back. Let me get my good side, please. There you go.
I know June 24th, the actual 100th birthday, the church is planning, because the old church was located on Water and Elm Street, I believe. And so parishioners are meeting down there and parading up to the current church like they did 100 years ago. And afterwards, there's a big celebration in Memorial Park with the band and food and fellowship. So, it'll be a fun day.
That's awesome. Thank you.
All right, and probably the favorite night of the year, we'll turn it over to Chief Mills for our police awards.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and yeah, as you said, this is probably our favorite council meeting of the year. There's really not a lot in terms of the video, so don't feel like you have to come around, but if you want to, feel free to come over here, but you're not going to miss much. So, yes, it is an honor and a pleasure to present the annual awards tonight. Each of these recipients was nominated by their peers and selected by the awards committee. These 10 members serve in a variety of capacities, but the one thing they all have in common is they are ambassadors, and I am very proud to serve with them. The Chief's Commendation is issued for outstanding performance that demonstrates the core values of integrity, professionalism, cooperation, and commitment. Last year, we responded to 2 separate incidents that resulted in an armed, barricaded suspect. In both cases, the team of officers used exemplary tactical skills, and de-escalation tactics to bring the incidents to a safe resolution. For the first incident, if I could have Sergeant Lane and Officer Mell please come forward. On May 17th, Sergeant Paul Lane and Officer Chris Mell were dispatched to a house on Powhatan Drive for a female stating her live-in boyfriend, with whom she shared a child, was having a mental health crisis. The woman explained that there was an unserved protection order through Claremont Domestic Relations that was issued due to his violent behavior and threats of suicide. He was a combat veteran diagnosed with PTSD and was very likely armed and intoxicated. Further investigation revealed the male was wanted on 3 active warrants and had refused to answer the door on recent attempts by the sheriff's office to serve the protection order. Sergeant Lane and Officer Mell visually confirmed the man was inside the residence and was in fact suffering a mental health crisis. After several failed attempts to communicate with the male, the decision was made to request the Claremont County Special Response Team, often referred to as SWAT. However, before we made that call, Officer Mell was finally able to get a verbal response from the man through a locked rear door. Over the next 30 minutes, and I was there, I witnessed this, it was amazing, Officer Mell used excellent verbal de-escalation tactics and was able to convince the man to peacefully surrender. Once the man was secured, officers retrieved a Glock pistol from inside the residence. The man was secured and transported to Claremont County Jail when Officer Mell coordinated with the sheriff's office to make sure he received a mental health evaluation and was provided access to resources. The patience and professionalism of Officer Mell and Sergeant Lane undoubtedly prevented a tragedy, and it's my pleasure to issue them a Chief's Commendation. You guys want to say anything? No pressure. Okay, very good. Assistant Chief Mahan, Sergeant Kibbe, Detective Wilson, and Officers Brown, Kenny, Williams, and Chastain, please come forward. This incident drug out over the better part of almost 20 hours, so it overlapped several shifts. In the early morning hours of Friday, December 9th, a woman was discovered sleeping in her car near Thielman's Mobile Home Park. She explained to officers that she had recently moved here from Tennessee to live with her boyfriend. She said the relationship turned toxic, and when she made her intention to return to Tennessee known, he held her against her will and discharged a firearm at her inside the trailer. The woman explained that she was able to free herself after the suspect fell asleep. However, she quickly realized she couldn't completely escape him because he had removed her license plate to prevent her from driving. At this point, her top priority was simply getting assistance from us in retrieving her belongings, which included her license plate, but she cautioned us that the suspect was always armed and had made it clear that he would not get arrested peacefully. Officers decided to wait until the suspect went to work earlier in the day before escorting the woman in to retrieve her property. However, that plan was foiled when we learned the suspect was terminated early in his shift and had already returned home. At approximately noon, officers requested assistance from detectives in applying for a search warrant to further the investigation. Assistant Chief Mahan assumed the role of incident commander and contacted Claremont County Sheriff's Lieutenant Nick DeRose and advised him we may need assistance from the Claremont County Special Response Team. At 1:15 p.m., Assistant Chief Mahan and I arrived in front of the residence and observed 2 vehicles associated with the suspect. We observed him unload the contents of his work van and enter the rear door of his mobile home. He was last seen at 2 p.m. However, he continued to text the victim with his plans to shoot any officer trying to arrest him. The suspect also indicated in a text message that he had his 9-year-old son inside the residence with him. Officers quickly began efforts to confirm or refute that statement as it was new evidence or new information. After speaking with the child's mother and calling the school, we were still unable to confirm the whereabouts of the child. Provided with the current information, Assistant Chief Mahan made the announcement that we would not execute a search warrant without the assistance of the Special Response Team. At 3:50 p.m., officers arrived on scene with arrest warrants. Sergeant Mark Kibbe and Assistant Chief Mahan discussed an operations plan and secured an area-wide channel for communication. Sergeant Kibbe completed a visual inspection of all personnel, ensuring all were wearing ballistic vests and their carriers identified them as law enforcement. The plan was to have Sergeant Kibbe approach the front door with 2 officers with rifles supporting him from different angles. At 3:56 p.m., Sergeant Kibbe made his first approach. He gave loud hopes of establishing communication. Unfortunately, we received no response. Additional attempts were made to call the suspect, the mother of the child, and the school. The mother reported it was the suspect's day to have the child, and she assumed he was with him or at an after-school event. With no answer at the school, it was assumed the child may have been picked up early and was in fact inside the residence. A ping of the suspect's phone confirmed he was inside the residence. At 4:20 p.m., Sergeant Kibbe made another attempt to get the suspect to come to the door, with no success. A third attempt was made 10 minutes later, again with no success. At 4:35 p.m., Assistant Chief Mahan instructed officers to make another call to the mother of the child to see if we could get her to respond and open lines of communication with the suspect. Officer Williams advised that he had spoken with her. She was still uncertain on the location of her child, but agreed to respond to our staging area. Once on scene, she was successful in getting the suspect to answer his phone. Sergeant Kibbe used her phone to speak with the barricaded suspect. We all breathed a huge sigh of relief when we learned the child was at an after-school daycare. After approximately 15 minutes of negotiating, and I got to witness this one too, it was absolutely amazing, the suspect surrendered and was taken into custody without incident. On the subsequent search of the residence, Detective Wilson recovered evidence that in fact corroborated the victim's account of events. The teamwork and professionalism of Assistant Chief Mahan, Sergeant Kibbe, Detective Wilson, and Officers Brown, Kenny, Williams, and Chastain undoubtedly prevented a tragedy, and it's my pleasure to issue them a Chief's Commendation.
Act like you like each other.
It's crazy. They stay behind me still.
Yeah.
Act like you like each other.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, go, guys.
If I could have Officer
Awesome.
Chastain and Officer Brown stay up here, please. And our last award of the night, the Milford Police Department's Silver Bullet may be awarded to any member of the department who demonstrates exemplary problem solving. The recipient of the MPD Silver Bullet is encumbered with the responsibility of identifying the next recipient. The Milford Police Department's Silver Bullet will never permanently be issued and will pass through the hands of active members indefinitely. Last year's recipient was Officer Chastain. He has decided to pass the Silver Bullet to Officer Brown. He cited Officer Brown's commitment to community policing and problem solving. When we hired Officer Brown last year during the selection process, he made it clear he was very interested in community policing, and we found that to be true. He enjoys interacting with the community on an informal basis and has been very well received by our community. And as you can see from this video, in addition to problem-solving skills, he's also got some sick dance moves. Addison Elementary posted that video, it went viral. And he was really new when he did it, so we thought that was super cool. And to be up here twice tonight and his first year of employment, I think says a lot about the caliber of officer he is as well. They'd like to say
Yes, thank you.
Nice.
No problem. I'd like to once again congratulate all of the officers who are recognized tonight. I know my Officer Mike Green came in on his own time. I don't know if anybody else did, but the fire department is here. I really appreciate the camaraderie and support from them. I want to thank you guys for letting us do this in front of a meeting. I know time is valuable. And lastly, I want to thank Greg Seaman, resident and owner of Baker Heating and Cooling, for providing the wings tonight that are a part of our reception upstairs.
Nice. Congratulations.
We'll do one group photo.
You guys, do you want to?
You guys can get the Super Bowl.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he's.
Congratulations. Chief, we appreciate all your efforts, and we have the best police department around. Like, they're wonderful people, and we appreciate all they do every day. Thank you. Go enjoy your food.
Thank you. And feel free to join us.
Now we have to get on to the boring stuff. That takes us to proceedings. Do I have a motion to approve the council meeting proceedings from May 2nd, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes. And that takes us to financial statements. Do I have a motion to receive the April 2023 financial report?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
And that brings us to public comments. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment? All right, seeing none, we'll go on to standing committee reports. Administrative Services, Mr. Parrish.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. The Administrative Services Committee meeting was held on May 15th, and I called the meeting to order at 3:30 p.m. Present were Mayor Evans, Ms. Chamberlain, and myself. Staff included City Manager Michael Doss, Finance Director Pat Witherin, and Executive Assistant Jackie Bain. We had no visitors. Our first proceeding, the committee members approved the proceedings from the April 26, 2023 Administrative Services Committee committee minutes. Next up was a discussion around cooperation agreement for the Claremont County Entitlement Program. Mr. Doss discussed agreement information with the committee regarding participation in the Claremont County Entitlement Program. Every few years, we enter into an agreement with Claremont County that essentially recognizes the community development block, the home grant through HUD. We have been successful with several CDBG grant block funds. With this agreement, we will adhere to all the rules and regulations and procedures under the federal guidelines. We will seek reimbursement through Claremont County. This is a renewal of past practices and agreements that we have had with Claremont County. It's good for 3 years, starting in 2024 and ending in 2026. The committee agreed to recommend that the law director draft an ordinance to enter into a cooperative agreement with Claremont County Board of Commissioners for the Claremont County Entitlement Program.
Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
The committee then moved on to a discussion around ordinance amending appropriation ordinance 2022-181 and 2023-192. Ms. Witherin reviewed a list of proposed amendments to the city's 2023 budgeted appropriations, transfers, and advances. The attached chart was reviewed and discussed. Roughly half of the monetary changes have to do with increased costs associated with the city's 3 major projects. Roughly $3.3 million water tower grant project, including design, approximately $1.3 million water line grant projects, including design, and approximately $3 million park levy project, including design and geothermal. Ms. Evans asked if we had received any money back from the Erie Garfield road collapse. Mr. Doss said that we had invoiced them, and we are giving them 45 more days before we pursue anything. We are to receive roughly $79,000. Ms. Chamberlain asked if the pickleball grant received approval for funding, and Mr. Doss stated that it did not pass. 5 Points Park Levy Fund was also discussed. Ms. Witherin was informed that there was a mention of transferring $350,000 to 5 Points, the thought being that we are to receive the money from the sale of 25 Main. Ms. Witherin pointed out items to the committee and how the money would transfer into the budget. Her thoughts on that as finance director, Ms. Witherin stated that when you are recouping your return on investment, you just return it to where it came from and let the reserve build up to where it would be if you had gotten your return on your investment. She reminded the committee that we should have at least 6 to 8 months as a reserve in the general fund. With the $350,000 coming in as general fund revenue, we are below an ideal reserve at 5.4 months because the $350,000 did not recoup the total approximate $590,000 investment in the property, including the parking lots. Transferring the $350,000 to the park levy fund would then put the general fund reserve closer to 5 months, which is not ideal. Ms. Witherin stated that the timing of this isn't great and asked if the committee would consider either putting off the expenditure until the, quote, budget time, end quote, or doing the additional parking lot for $100,000. Ms. Witherin mentioned that the city has 3 major projects: water tower, water lines, and 5 Points Park, all involving cost increases. Additionally, the $3 million water tower improvement grant, as it stands, requires the city to prepay all expenses on the project. This could potentially put the general fund reserve in a critical position. Hopes are high for all municipalities who have been granted the Ohio Builds Grant that the grant rules were changed and that the city will receive the $3 million in grant funds prior to spending, similar to COVID grants. The rule, as it stands, could be difficult for many grant recipients, not just Milford. Ms. Witherin discussed at length a 5 Points Landing cash flow chart to the committee. Ms. Evans said that we have to do this 5 Point Park project. Bank or no bank, the trend has been that things in Milford never get finished. And if we don't do this now while the park is under construction and bring back some of these things that are going to be phase 2, the trend has been over the last 20 years that things don't ever happen. While it is under construction, it is cheaper now to do the things than to try to add them later. And the project will never get done. This is the prime center of the city, and we have to make it right the first time and the best we can. Ms. Chamberlain asked about our own general fund and the reserve being down to 5 months versus 5.4 months. In her opinion, she would like us to get as close as we can to the original plans for the park and finish the project. Mr. Doss wanted to indicate that we, as a staff, when MSP and DER met, the bid was about $1 million over. There was a 2-hour meeting to review the park project. We have all the main things except for the concession stand and parking on Lila. Mr. Parrish stated that if this is to be our crown jewel, then we must keep in or put back items to the park. It is much cheaper to do this now rather than wait. The committee, the change orders that community development will consider will actually be $311,574.71. The committee totally appreciated Ms. Witherin's work that she put into this and information, but felt that this project has to be done right and squeeze the budget to do it. The committee agreed that it would be nice to have this connector between our downtown and uptown being a spectacular point in the city for not only the residents, but also the visitors that come to our city. The committee then agreed to recommend that the law director draft an ordinance amending ordinances 2022-181 and 2023-192 by increasing the individual appropriations, transfers, and advances as listed on the attached chart, totaling $3,825,950.
Second.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
There being no further business, the meeting was then adjourned at 4:14 p.m. with a motion from Ms. Chamberlain, seconded by Ms. Evans.
Thank you very much. That takes us to community development. Mr. Redmond.
Thank you, Mayor. Community Development meeting for May 15th, 2023. I called the meeting to order at 4:30 p.m. Present were myself, Mr. Mitchell, and Ms. Cooper. Staff, Finance Director, Pat, Assistant Jackie Bain. Visitors were none. The committee approved the proceedings from April 3rd, 2023 Community Development Committee meetings. Our first order of business was to discuss the Park and Recreation Committee duties and responsibilities.
Mr. Doss discussed with the committee the revisions to Ordinance 01-113 to present for council consideration. The amended ordinance outlines the rules and procedures of the Recreation Commission. The committee agreed to recommend that the law director draft an ordinance amending the rules and procedures for the Park and Recreation Commission.
Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Yes.
Moving on, we discussed the 5 Points Landing Park change orders. Mr. Doss reviewed the information for 5 Points Landing change orders. PCO number 11, colored concrete for restroom pavilion area and farmers market section. PCO number 13, short Lila parking. PCO number 14, masonry seat walls. PCO 15, festoon lighting and colored walk. PCO 16, short Lila gateway. And PCO 18, demo material hauled to landfill. All totaling $311,574.71, which is up for consideration at this time and is part of the ordinance. Mr. Doss explained that the warming kitchen concession area will go back into Phase 2. The trellis swings around the fountain have been eliminated, and the city is looking into doing other type of swings that are removable swings. The metal canopies for the outdoor cooking for the farmers market have been eliminated. The farmers market area remains intact for use with small pop-up tents as was in the original design. The small brick division wall between the concrete padding where the performances will take place has been eliminated, and the grass area will now be flush with the concrete performance area. Some landscaping has been removed and will be looked at next year to be included in the landscaping bid contract. If these proposed change orders get approved, the park will approximately be 80 to 85% of the original park design reincorporated. Ms. Worthing discussed how this is tied into the sale of 25 Main. Mr. Redmond did not have a problem with the change orders, but regardless, the city has done something very nice with this site. It's better than it was, and in time, people will enjoy this park. The change orders bring back a lot of what was originally designed. I also the bid provided. I was pleased to realize that we were bringing back 80 to 85% of the original park design. The committee agreed to recommend that the law director draft an ordinance approving various change orders associated with the 5 Points Landing Park project in the amount of $311,574.71.
Second.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Other business we discussed. Mr. Dross brought to the committee's attention that the kayak and canoe launch is going through permitting at this time and is projected to cost less than originally estimated when the city applied for and received grants. There being no further business, the meeting adjourned at 5 p.m. with a motion from myself, seconded by Mr. Mitchell. All said yes.
All right, thank you. That takes us to city manager report, Mr. Doss.
Thank you, Mayor. I kind of sound like a broken record with a couple of these, but there have been some changes and some updates. The Duke Paving paving company, that's Barrett Paving. They will be doing the milling and resurfacing from last year's gas line replacement project. Barrett Paving is scheduled to begin work on June 12th, if not a little earlier. The project is expected to last a couple of weeks. We've been told it will not interfere with the Memorial Day Parade or Frontier Days, so we should have brand new asphalt at that time. City Hall repairs, just want to remind council and the public that we did send out bid advertisements for City Hall exterior repairs a couple weeks ago. Remind anyone that's interested or hearing this that bids are due to the city by May 26th. The city anticipates that the repair work will commence in late June or early July. As Mr. Parrish mentioned, the city was not successful, unfortunately, in obtaining a grant from the Claremont County Parks and Recreation for the tennis court repairs and the pickleball resurfacing project. We've been in contact with Claremont County. There were some problems with the repair works. So we will look at other funding opportunities available. We may look at all new tennis court, maybe all new pickleball courts, depending on what we can find with funding and the percentage of match, if any. So we're still looking into that, but I just wanted to pass that information along. It's a little unfortunate, but we continue to work hard. Standing committee meetings, there are none at this time. Excuse me, several reminders. May 29th is Memorial Day. The City Hall offices will be closed. Ms. Cooper, you may be talking about the Memorial Day Parade later on in your presentation. June 1st through the 3rd is Frontier Days. June 14th is Planning Commission at 6. June 19th is Juneteenth. Reminder, City Hall offices will be closed on that day. And then our next regularly scheduled council meeting is June 20th at 7. A reminder that our summer schedule begins. So for the next 3 months, we'll be meeting on the 3rd Tuesday of each month unless we have a special meeting.
All right, thank you very much. That takes us to Fire and EMS District Chief Miller.
Good evening.
Welcome.
I gave you a couple packets. One is a copy of the Milford Community Fire Department's Board of Trustees meeting from March. So that information. The other one is a project that the board recently approved for an ambulance remount. A couple things to note on there. The loan that we received is coming from River Hills Bank. Excluding any contingencies, the remount's going to come in at like about $207,000. What a remount means is basically we're taking the box portion of the ambulance where we take care of our patients, taking it off the truck that it's on right now and putting it on a new truck. You can only do this if the box is in really good shape, so we're lucky that we're able to do it. And you can usually only do it about one time per ambulance. So what this does is it provides us with a new ambulance, but not at the cost of a new ambulance. We've done it successfully on our 2012 unit, and so now we're going to do it again on our 2014 unit. I mentioned the cost. Our neighbors at Madera and Indian Hill, they did a survey for our area, and one thing they came up with is the average cost for a new ambulance in our area is about $344,000. So we're saving quite a bit of money by doing the remount project. You may have seen Chief Baird recently on Channel 12. He was interviewed about residential lock boxes. We've also made a post on social media. These are low-cost lock boxes that will allow public safety personnel a non-destructive way to enter somebody's home during an emergency. They are available for any residents inside the city, but they're especially nice for our elderly or chronically ill patients or residents. You can contact the fire prevention office if you're interested in obtaining one. I will say the Kiwanis Club, I think I said that right, has provided several of them. I think 30 is what Chief said. The Milford Community Firefighters Club is going to also provide several, and I just received a check from the Milford Police Community Partnership Fund, and they are also going to provide several of those. So that is nice. Lieutenant Nagelhout, District Chief Thiel, and myself completed Leadership Academy a couple weeks ago. It's a 10-month program. Kind of helps develop leaders and personnel management. So we train really well at the skills that we do outside the firehouse. This is kind of one of those trainings that we do for inside the firehouse stuff. So that was nice. This is our second time going through that with a new group of people, and it's been beneficial for us. District Chief Thiel and I also started our executive it assesses and refines the leadership qualities of chief officers. It's a 2.5-year program. We were fortunate that a majority of the cost is being covered by a grant through several local departments. And to put it, I guess, in plain words, a successful completion of this course would be similar to earning your master's degree. So that's what we're going through now. Finally, an alumni gathering on May 23rd will be at the firehouse. So past and present members of Milford Community Fire Department will come together at the firehouse for fellowship, sharing of memories, and just catching up. And we hope that this is going to be an annual event. Any questions?
Very nice. No?
All right,
Thank you very much. All right, that takes us to council comments. Anyone from council like to make a comment?
Yes. I'd like to let everybody know the Memorial Day Parade is on Monday, May 29th. Starts at 9:30, basically at Memorial Park. Travels up Main Street to Lila to Green Lawn Cemetery, where there is a ceremony, and Brad Wenstrup, our U.S. representative, is going to speak there. So he will be in the parade and he will speak. So please join us along the route and honor our veterans in our country.
Thanks for all your work on that. Appreciate that. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd
Okay.
just
Yeah.
like to.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to take a quick minute and congratulate any and all graduates we have out there in Milford. So I know it's that time of year and they've all worked hard and are wrapping things up. So I just wanted to take that minute.
And I just wanted to thank everybody that's involved in these two committees, the Administrative Committee and the Community Development Committee. Some of the things that they went through that was on their docket for deciding on were pretty big decisions that they had to make, and then especially Pat having to work out finances to make sure we could get these things done, because it's really important, as Ben said, that we could put some of these things back into our park project and just, so many different things that we've been trying to accomplish in this great city that we live in. So I want to thank that committee for what they've done.
Anybody else?
Can we get a second TV in here for when we have guests and stuff?
Oh, a second, like monitor?
Yeah, for people to watch. I know that was brought up the other day too for another meeting, but we used to have two, but it would be nice when
There's
we
one
have.
in Harry Hodges' room, I believe.
It'd be just nice. It doesn't have to be all the time, but when we know there's presentations and stuff,
Yeah.
it's nice to include the audience.
We could put it over there. Yeah,
Yeah.
all right. Yes. Anybody
That
else?
was your husband, actually.
Joe's complaining.
I'll speak for him.
I'll call you out, Joe.
He thanks you, Ben.
Richard didn't complain, just All right, with nothing else, we will turn it over to new businesses, ordinances, and resolutions.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 23-218, an ordinance to enter into a cooperative agreement with Claremont County Board of Commissioners for the Claremont County Entitlement Program. Now, boy, you'd think after 8-9 months I'd figure this out, particularly after last week where I needed an intermission. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Council of the City of Milford, Ohio, Section 1, the City Council of the City of Milford hereby authorizes the city manager to enter into a cooperative agreement with Claremont County for participation in the Claremont County Entitlement Program. The objective of the program is to develop viable urban communities and whereby federal assistance will be provided for the support of community development activities. City of Milford's participation in the Claremont County Entitlement Program will be for program years 2024, 2025, and 2026. Section 2, under in accordance with sections 12.05 and 12.07 of the Milford City Charter, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Move to suspend the rules and read by title only.
Second.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Parrish,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Redmond,
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain,
Yes.
Ms. Evans.
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-218, an ordinance to enter into a cooperative agreement with Claremont County Board of Commissioners for the Claremont County Entitlement Program.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Parrish,
Yes.
Ms. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain,
Yes.
Mr. Redmond,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper.
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-219, an ordinance amending appropriation ordinances 2022-181 and 2023-192. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the Municipality of Milford, Ohio, Section 1. The Council of the City of Milford hereby authorizes the City Finance Director to amend ordinances 2022-181, 2022-181, and 2023-192 by increasing the individual appropriations, transfers, and advances as set forth and listed on the document attached hereto, identified as City of Milford's second amended appropriations and transfers fiscal years 2023, which attachment is incorporated herein pursuant to and in accordance with Section 12.03 of the Milford City Charter. Said amendments total $3,825,950. Under Section 2, under and in accordance with Sections 11.05 and 12.07 of the Milford City Charter, this ordinance requires only one reading and shall be effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Move to suspend the rule. Oh, it's my motion to adopt.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Second.
Ms. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Parrish,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Redmond,
Yes.
Chamberlain.
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-220, an ordinance amending the rules and procedures for the Park and Recreation Commission. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Milford, Ohio, Section 1. The Park and Recreation Commission of the City of Milford is established by the Charter of Municipalities, Section 6.09. The Park and Recreation Commission is authorized to exercise such power and authority as may be conferred upon it through the Charter, city ordinances, and the Ohio Revised Code. Section 2. The City Council of the City of Milford hereby amends Ordinance 01-113, Rules and Procedures for the Park and Recreation Commission and adopts the revisions set forth as attached in this ordinance. Section 3, under and in accordance with sections 12.05 and 12.07 of the Milford City Charter, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Move to suspend the rules and read by title only.
Second.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-220, an ordinance amending the rules and procedures for the Park and Recreation Commission.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-221, an ordinance approving various change orders associated with 5 Points Landing Park Project. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Milford, Ohio, Section 1. City Council of the City of Milford hereby authorizes the city manager to execute the following change orders in association with DER Development Company, LLC, and the 5 Points Landing Park Project, PCO number 11, PCO number 13, PCO number 14, PCO number 15, PCO number 16, and PCO number 18 in the amount of $311,574.71. On Section 2, under and in accordance with Sections 12.05 and 12.07 of the Milford City Charter, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Move to suspend the rules and read by title only.
Second.
Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-221, an ordinance approving various change orders associated with 5 Points Landing Park Project.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
All right, with no further business, I don't believe. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
All right, thank you all for coming.